it's Lisa Childs here from Tried, Tested, and True Instant Pot Cooking, where I share a few Instant Pot inspirations and ways to feel confident using your Instant Pot. Today is less than a month away from Easter, and so we are going to be making the most amazing Instant Pot carrot cake. This cake is chock full of all the good stuff. We've got nuts, coconut, pineapple. Oh, it is so good. It's not like this light and airy spice cake with a couple flecks of carrot in it. No, this is so good. It's gonna knock your socks off. For this recipe, you will need half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of white sugar, 1/3 of a cup of oil, 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1 cup of flour, 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon, 1½ teaspoons of baking soda, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. 2 cups of shredded carrots, 1 cup of chopped nuts. I used pecans, but you can also use walnuts, pecans, any combination. Half a cup of shredded coconut. It can be sweetened or unsweetened. 2/3 cup of pineapple. I usually just buy a 8-ounce can of pineapple chunks and then cut them up so then I can just have smaller chunks in the cake. Okay, let's get started making our cake. So the first thing we want to do is combine our oil with our sugars. So I have just 1/3 of a cup of vegetable oil in here, and then I have half a cup of brown and 1/2 cup of white sugar. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of cream together, not cream because it's not butter, but we're just gonna mix together the sugars with the oil to kind of get it combined. You can also use a hand mixer or a stand mixer for this part. All right, so now that we have that incorporated, we are going to add 2 eggs. Just straight in. Whoops. Let's do 2 teaspoons of vanilla and then whisk this all up together. I like using this flat whisk because then I can scrape things off the bottom of the bowl or the pot, whatever, while I'm cooking. It really helps to just incorporate everything in really quick. So keep stirring this until all the sugar is dissolved and you don't have any clumps. Now that our mixture is combined like this, we're gonna sift in our dry ingredients. So I just have a little sifter here, and we're gonna add 1 cup of flour, and the rest of our dry ingredients. We've got a teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, some cloves, and nutmeg. And I just like to throw those right on top and then sift over the sugar and the egg oil mixture. Oh, those spices smell so good together. I love cinnamon. We're just going to whisk in lightly the flour mixture, and this is going to be almost like a cookie dough. It's going to be a very thick batter. You don't want any dry spots when you add in the rest of the ingredients, but you don't want to over mix the flour because you don't want it to be like super tough. So we've got our batter here, and it looks just kind of like a very loose cookie dough, almost like a peanut butter or an almond butter is what it looks like. So to this, we are going to add our other ingredients. So we're going to start with 2 cups of shredded carrots. They can be pre-shredded. You can buy like just the bag at the store, or you can shred your own. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of carrots. After the carrots, we're going to add in our pineapple. So I just use an 8-ounce can of pineapple chunks. I drain it, and then I just chop up the pineapple chunks so they're a little bit smaller, but you can also use like pineapple tidbits, crushed pineapple, whatever you want. But you do want to drain the liquid out because we don't want that extra liquid in our cake. So I just drained it out and like added some sparkling water and just made a little drink. So you can do it whatever you want with it. So we've got our pineapple. So good. And a cup of nuts. I'm using pecans that I just chopped up, but you can use any nut you like. I think pecans and walnuts are kind of the best ones. And then 1/2 cup of coconut. You can use a sweetened shredded coconut or an unsweetened, doesn't matter. and just fold in all that goodness into that thick batter. And then what we're gonna do is just let the batter sit for about 5-10 minutes. So then the moisture from the carrots can kind of draw out into the batter. It's kind of the same concept as zucchini bread. Zucchini bread has a really kind of a thick batter at first, and then you add in all that zucchini and it just transforms. So you can see that this is super thick. The batter is barely just like covering all of the carrots and the nuts and the pineapple. It's super thick. So we are just gonna let this rest for a couple minutes, and in the meantime, I'm gonna prepare my pans. So I just have 2 6-inch cake pans, and these are awesome for just baking, whatever, and we are going to grease them. I just like to use some cooking spray. Make sure you're getting the sides, definitely the bottom. You do not want this to stick. That is like the worst, because we want our cake layers to be perfect. Okay, and then before we put them in the Instant Pot, I'm gonna kind of explain how we're going to stack them. So I am going to use my silicone pressure cooking sling and put it in the bottom of my Instant Pot. We have our pressure cooking sling. I'm gonna have 1 cake pan full of batter, and I'm gonna cover it with foil, and we're gonna put it on the first trivet. So then we have to stack the second one on top of it. So instead of stacking it right on top of the foil so there's not a ton of airflow, I am going to use another trivet or whatever you have. So today I'm going to use this little net that I have, and I'm just going to put that on top and then put the other cake pan on top of it. So then there is something to like stack both of them. Another thing you can use are like chopsticks. You can just put them on top of the first one, the first pan, and then set the second one on top. Whatever you have to just keep a little bit of a layer between the 2 cake layers, that's what you're gonna want. Today we're making a homemade carrot cake in our Instant Pot, but if you want to make a Instant Pot carrot cake cheesecake, then you can add this optional cheesecake layer swirl. So if you're gonna do that, just add 2 blocks of cream cheese, that's 16 ounces, and blend that together with 3/4 of a cup of sugar, 2 eggs, and half a tablespoon of vanilla. You just wanna mix that up really nice, and then you're going to dollop that into our carrot cake batter after it goes in our pans. That's totally optional, but the cook time is still the same, and it's a really yummy way to eat this carrot cake, to have that cheesecake layer. It's so good. Today we are going to just make the regular original carrot cake. Okay, it's been a couple minutes now, and you can tell that our batter is a lot looser. There appears to be more batter because a lot of the moisture from the carrots has released into the batter, and so it now looks a little bit more like regular cake batter. So I'm going to take this and divide it evenly between the 2 cake pans. I have our cake layers here, and I am going to just cover them with foil. So now we're ready to pressure cook our carrot cakes in the Instant Pot. So we are going to add 2 cups of water to the Instant Pot. And then we're gonna add our first cake layer. I'm gonna just put it right on top of the pressure cooking sling and drop it into the Instant Pot. And then we're gonna add our second cake layer, just like that. And then I'm just gonna put my little sling together and then put on the lid, turn the knob from venting to sealing, and then we're going to cook this for 60 minutes. 1 hour in the Instant Pot with a full natural pressure release, so about 15 to 30 minutes, just depending on how long it takes for the pin to drop on your Instant Pot. As soon as the cakes are done, we will take them out and let them rest at room temperature until they're cooled, and then just refrigerate them overnight. This just helps to kind of firm up the cakes, make sure that they're not going to fall apart while you're icing them, and it helps to just keep them really moist. So that is what we're going to do, and then we'll finish this cake up tomorrow. So our cakes have been chilling in the fridge overnight. Today we are making the frosting. So this is a delicious cream cheese frosting. I absolutely love it, and I know you will too. For the cream cheese frosting, you will need 8 ounces of cream cheese. This is 1 block that's been softened. 6 tablespoons of softened butter, 4 cups of powdered sugar, 3 teaspoons of vanilla, and a couple pinches of salt. So I just have my softened cream cheese here, and you can soften cream cheese in the microwave. Usually there's like a little setting for it, or you can just take it out a couple hours before you want to use it. But it's important that it's softened because otherwise you're going to have lumps of cream cheese in your frosting. And I'm just going to add in 6 tablespoons of butter. 1 stick of butter is 8 tablespoons. So I'm just going to take all but 2 tablespoons of the butter. Just plop it into our cream cheese. And then we're going to cream these two together with a little bit of vanilla. You got to shake up your vanilla every time, because otherwise, if you're using real vanilla, your vanilla will settle a little bit, and you want to make sure you have all that flavor. I love vanilla, and I almost never measure it. So we'll also use a couple shakes of salt, and then we'll just cream this together. Make sure that your cream cheese and your butter are fully incorporated. You want them to be fluffy, cohesive. You don't want any chunks or lumps in there, because then it will be lumpy in your frosting. If it is a little bit lumpy, just microwave it for 10 seconds at a time and then mix 10 seconds at a time until it's nice and soft. You don't want it to be melted, but you do want it to be softened. And now I have 4 cups of powdered sugar, and we're just going to add this while mixing it about a cup at a time. Occasionally, I like to just wipe down my beaters and my bowl to make sure that everything gets incorporated. All right, we have our cream cheese frosting now. It's gorgeous. It's got this beautiful, just kind of a light yellow tan color, and it's gonna go perfect on our cake. So let's go get our cakes from the fridge. After you take your cakes out of the Instant Pot and you let them cool to room temperature and you want to refrigerate them overnight, then this is what they look like. They are perfect. I checked them last night. So excited about them. They do shrink down just a little bit after you make them, but I like to just take a plastic knife and just run my knife along the outsides and just kind of shake it a little bit to dislodge it like that, and then perfect. Okay, so we've got our first layer here, and it's moist. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I can't wait to share it with you. So if you want, you can cut your layers, so you can like trim the tops to make them so they're super even, but I don't really care. So I am just going to set this back in the pan until we're ready for it. And now we're ready to assemble our cake. So I just have my first layer right here, and I'm just going to add a good little dollop of cream cheese frosting and use an offset spatula or a knife and just spread it evenly. Brett doesn't like carrot cake, and I don't think my kids don't like carrots. Oddly enough, that's the one vegetable where they just really struggle with. And so this carrot cake is probably going to be eaten by me and my friends and neighbors. This is a perfect size though, if you just want a little, taste of carrot, but you don't want like a ginormous Costco-sized carrot cake. This is a perfect cake because it's not too big, but you're still going to get a good 8 servings out of it. And another good thing about this cake is that it can be made early. It freezes really nicely. Our cake has been in the freezer for about 15 minutes and the crumb coat has set. So that means that hopefully it's not going to pull any more crumbs or frosting off of here. So we are just going to go ahead and add the rest of our frosting onto the cake. Okay, I have a little bit of extra frosting here, and I'm just going to put it in a piping bag and just use it to kind of decorate a little bit. Here is my tip for using a piping bag. This is just a disposable piping bag, and I am going to fill it up with just the last little bit of our cream cheese frosting. But I have my bag. I'm going to put a star tip in it. Just going to stick it right into the tip there, and then I'm going to put it in a glass. Just like this. And then we can scrape the rest of our frosting into the bag scrape it on the edge of the cup, and then you're not dealing with frosting like going everywhere. Okay, so now you just pull up the sides of the bag, cut a little bit off the bottom, squeeze the piping tip in, perfect. See, just like that, and squeeze the air out, and now I've got perfect piping bag. I don't really have a plan for this, but I'm just gonna decorate how I see fit and how I want to, and we'll see what we come up with. So I also made some crumbs. These are just some blended up pecans with some graham cracker. So I'm just gonna use that as kind of some dust, some sprinkles for the cake. And I'm not gonna add any food coloring carrots. You can totally do that if you want. You can add maybe some little cookies. I was thinking about making some macarons. But we're just keeping it simple here today. We don't need it to be crazy. There are cake baking accounts for that. So talented. And I've got a little bit of my toasted coconut in here. We'll add a couple toasted coconut flakes. Now I have some really pretty just like little flowers that I found at the store while I was doing some recipe prepping, and so I thought, oh, that might be pretty to put in a couple flowers here and there for springtime. So I thought we'll add a couple little green things in here. But anyway, there we go. We have our carrot cake. It looks beautiful. It's so moist, and I'm gonna cut into it in just a sec. We've got our completed carrot cake, and I just want to show you just how delicious this is. So we've got this beautiful brown cake with lots of pineapple, nuts, carrots, this awesome cream cheese frosting, and this is a very thick, like dense. The texture is a lot like, kind of like a really dense fruit cake, but it's so good. So let's dig in. Oh, good. That is so full of so much goodness, and the cream cheese frosting is really light, and so it's a really good contrast from the dense cake. It's dense, but it's not like a brick. It's not going to feel like a brick in your stomach. It's still just so good. I know you're gonna love it. So if you make this carrot cake, feel free to tag me on Instagram at Instant Pot Cooking, and happy Easter. Enjoy!